No, not enough, not enough. Let's make it louder a little bit. A little bit more. Finally, finally. Okay. Perfect. That's already a lot better, more energy. So, hello, mortals. So, today we will speak about the developer experience. Yeah, a little bit. I will introduce myself. So, who am I? My name is Sergey. You might know me for quite some time, maybe if you are going to some events over here, from the GDG Riga events or from the DevBest Baltic conferences. I did some stuff there. Or maybe even you've seen me before the 2 skipped years before. In some conferences I was kind of speaking somewhere about some topics. I kind of wanted to bring myself again into the speaking about what is kind of touches my heart, you know. But currently what I'm doing, I'm working over here in the CityCo, like you can find me sometimes in this building. Yes, as with a title like Solutions Architect, like a magical title. So basically what I do is somebody is throwing problems at me, I'm catching them, solving them, and basically making clients happy. And during working in a software kind of engineering overall, I have seen, you know, like some stuff and also did some stuff. And that's why I want to talk today about the developer experience. But before that, have you heard something about the user experience? Yeah, hopefully everybody, many of you. In media, usually there is a combination in a following way, like UI/UX, because people do not want kind of to differentiate these things, but actually they are very different. Yeah, user experience and just beautiful UI. UI is usually like very kind of tiny part of the user experience. And in 1993, Don Norman, the author of this book you, I think, never heard of, yes, The Design of Everyday Things, actually coined the term user experience for his group at a small firm at that time, which is called Apple Computer. And in an interview to the journal Adaptive Path, he actually said that I invented the term because I thought human interface and usability were kind of too narrow. I wanted to cover all aspects of the person's experience with the system, including industrial design, graphics, the physical interactions, and the manual. And he even kind of named himself like a user experience architect. So if there are people who are working in the user experience, they don't know where to go higher than a senior, here it is, credits to Don Norman, you can become a user experience architect. So basically, if we will kind of try to interpret it, all of this, user experience is about the user, the person, and everything related around it, and its kind of interaction with something. Like how user feels when it touches something, when it opens it, when it uses it, what associations kind of come to mind when you're working with the stuff. Yeah. What, for example, is the flow in the application? Does the user feel kind of comfortable using the physical object or your application? It's a lot of stuff. It's not just like fancy UI, buttons, etc. It's many things. It's like very wide. So I hope you got the idea. And kind of to coin, this is UX is about kind of the user, the person, and their interaction with the system overall, like something big. The same goes for the developer experience. It's a relatively kind of fresh term, which is flying around for a few years in the media, and it's basically about focus on developers as users, right? Just one word change, user experience, developer experience, and that's it, like clever marketing. Microsoft defined developer experience the following way. Like developer experience refers to how easy or difficult it is for a developer to perform essential tasks needed to implement a change. A positive developer experience would mean these tasks are relatively easy kind of for the team. And actually this is a quote from their code with engineering playbook, which they are using for their engineers who are speaking or talking with external kind of clients. So what are these essential tasks? I think you can already kind of guess, because we're all working in the engineering and the development, but we'll touch on them specifically a little bit later. And, like, as I mentioned, everybody here kind of is engineer. Somebody is lucky to work in product, somebody is working in the outsource, and you might already kind of figure out that majority of focus is always on what in the development? Is on the implementation of features, right? This is kind of the main business focus usually, because this is something visible, this is something that you can show. Like if you're lucky, you usually have a roadmap, you implement features, you show them during the demos, and everybody is happy on those meetings, share how cool kind of everything is and how cool you are and they are, and some compliments are flying around. And then you come back to work and you don't feel yourself that good for some reason after the demo, because maybe you knew something. And actually, maybe you knew that infrastructure was down 10 minutes before you actually started to show that demo. And together with the team, you kind of managed to bring it up together. And you're like, whew, finally, yeah, good. We showed something today. Perfect. And maybe even 20 minutes before that, something was not building at all. There were failures in your deployment pipeline. And you change something, you reverse the build script, apply that fix, deploy it, finally you get it kind of through. You went through all of this. And of course you are tired, right? And maybe even kind of burned out at some point because of these activities. And this is developer experience. This is it. Imagine you are responsible for interactions with clients and explain or show them how to work with a product that your team or your company kind of developed. And people on that meeting representing different units. There are very big people like architects, staff engineers from Hong Kong, Tokyo, Thailand, London. There are thousands of dollars on that meeting, like spent. You're doing some fancy big project, you know? You sit there and they ask you a question, like, why this configuration property is only applied once in your application? Why when I change it, for example, second time or third time, nothing is happening? This is also developer experience, like some sort of a frustration. You were asked to figure out how to integrate with that particular service. Maybe it's legacy, maybe it's something kind of very new, but it has no documentation. And you need to use it because business kind of asks you to, and it has dozens of APIs with which you need to work. What are you gonna do? I think the best what you can do is to go and reverse engineer what is there and basically understand how to work with all of it. This is also developer experience. Have you started to feel something inside? No? Like something like itching over there? No, hearing all of this? No, only me? For everyone else, it's kind of fine? Okay, that's not good. Then it means that we have some work to do. So these were examples of the bad, frustrating developer experiences, where you sometimes actually are staying kind of like in a mud. But of course, there are also good examples of them. For example, Stripe, DigitalOcean, Vue.js, like open their websites, documentation, APIs, and for some time you will catch yourself, you know, like in internal peace, like meditation state, that finally somebody is doing something good and nice. You will actually feel the quality, you know. And you start to understand why those kind of services, tools, libraries actually are popular, why people love them, why people want to go and kind of use this stuff. This is a good developer experience. Another great example, I don't know if you are here, can you remember this thing? There was a service, and it actually exists, but it's not so kind of in a community like Heroku, and they invented such workflow where you just deploy your code by executing the following command in your terminal. You just push the code, it is deployed, and your application is up and running, which is a breeze. This is beautiful. Many actually today continue to copy this approach in like software products now. You can see something similar. But still, what I have mentioned, this is a very small percent of services or libraries or products who have kind of good developer experience. I almost kind of mentioned them from my head, and I think you can also find something that, yeah, I know something which is good. And the question is actually why? Why we do not want to make our development experience, our development world, a little bit better? Why in majority we decide to leave kind of everything as is and not moving anything? And I gave a thought, and you know why? One of the reasons, maybe, because it's hard. It requires thinking. It's already hard. Like about the improvements, you need to go out there and do something, make those changes. You need to implement something. And people are lazy. In majority, we're developers, we know that, right? Nobody will tell us, how to improve, and eventually basically tell us that we need to improve the developer experience. Majority of companies here, speaking about Latvia, they're not Google who understand kind of the importance of the developer experience. Business will also not tell us to improve the developer experience. They doesn't care about this at all, yet. When they will start, it will be already a little bit late, yeah. So highly likely, there will be also no task in your kind of Scrum board, like, please improve some developer experience in this area or that area. Because additionally, why it is a problem, and it is hard because it's very wide. It's also very wide, it touches a lot of areas. Let's refer to one of the good examples. For example, again, this Vue. And let's take a look what they actually doing, what they did and continue to do. This is an open source project, okay? So you can go over there, you can look at the code, and it's actually in a pretty good kind of state to look for examples and inspiration. They have fantastic documentation with a lot of examples, information, and they're always trying to kind of improve it. They have different sources for the tutorials. They have information about the courses where you can get the knowledge from. They even kind of work with the popular kind of contributors together to make this information kind of as easy as possible. There is a playground, so if you even don't want to download the Vue.js on your machine and play on your machine, you can just open the browser and already start to play there around. There is a wide community, like on Discord, on GitHub, on some dev community source. So that's a lot, right? Many people are involved, a lot of time is invested and materials produced, and this is one of the reasons I think people kind of love these tools, love to interact and want kind of to be part of that thing. And one of the possible measurements on how good developer experience is actually you can to touch it, this measurement, by understanding how fast you can start playing with some tool. Like how much it will take you, like weeks, days, hours, minutes, how fast. I think with Vue it will be kind of very fast. But okay, fine with the good examples, which are kind of popular, we're not over there. let's go back into our local reality. So where we can start doing improvements and get some quick returns of investment, maybe back. I think the first thing that comes to mind is actually onboarding, right? Because we always, when we start the project, is it a fresh project or we're joining the existing one, we are going through this onboarding experience. So how fast a new developer in a team can be onboarded to the project to start bringing value? Like, is it weeks? Is it days? Is it hours? This is actually also developer experience. Because, you know, having a bad onboarding could lead for a developer in its mind to a decision actually to leave a company. Because why I would spend my time in a company where I can't, bootstrap and start a project in a week? It's too long. If it's good experience, on the other hand, I think there are a lot higher chances for that engineer to stay, right? Because they're seeing something very good. They're like, whoa, it's cool. So can you, sitting people over here, already start improving the onboarding process? For example, reducing the time of onboarding people into your projects? I think you do. Maybe even start tomorrow. Go tomorrow to work and start even thinking how it can be improved. How you can onboard somebody, not in a week, but maybe in days. Maybe not in days, but in one day. Not in a day, but maybe in a few hours. Think about it. There are always options and possibilities to do that. Okay, what is usually coming next after the onboarding? So, imagining we're already onboarded as a developer. He's sitting over here with a laptop. Basically, development is coming next. And these are the essential tasks mentioned by the Microsoft. So, basically, how fast our application is built. Can this speed of the building of our application can be improved? How long tests are running? Can we improve the feedback time to get our results faster? Can our application actually start faster, not in hours, but maybe in minutes or even in seconds and maybe even lower? Can this be improved? What is the overall feedback time for our application when we build it, test it, deploy it, it's running, and till the next version? Can the feedback loop be improved? These are the questions that should always be in your mind to improve the developer experience. Like, can something be improved? And you will improve then stuff for your peers. This is where you can start, for your teammates, right? And then continue on your users, like consumers of your application. So these are just first steps. Maybe even some additional tooling will be needed actually to bring this in, but this is very important. Okay, what's next? Might be for the point for the improvement. Let's maybe flip around. We already have a developer. He's sitting. There is an application in front. Let's imagine that there is some API service, which will be consumed by you or by other developers. Because usually developers integrate with some kind of a product, not the business people, right? So let's look at what we have there. Let's look at API. I'll stop here for a second. Do you feel pain or something inside? Or started to feel? No? Think about the developer who will integrate with such API. What they will tell their peers or their managers? Will they laugh at this kind of thing? Is this kind of professional? This is developer experience. From business point of view, there are no problems. It is possible to integrate with a product. It's even possible to get some benefits and business value. But look at this. Like some new methods, IDs flying everywhere, some custom methods over there. I think maybe even some reputational loss company actually could get with such a stuff. Something like this might be better. You know, like it's semantically clear. Let's look at the others. Yeah, it's kind of looks nicer. Very minimalistic. Let's look at other things that we could have. For example, recursive JSONs. Again, do you start to feeling already something, you know, by looking? Do you have like tears in your eyes? No, not yet? Okay. So why on earth you would do it like so? Okay, there might be some kind of a use case where you will do the recursive kind of JSON stuff, maybe, but usually there might be a lot kind of better options to represent the hierarchical data without kind of giving developers who work with your API a brain damage, you know? For example, you could represent it like so. You can flatten the hierarchical structure, and in this you can already access elements in like ON. If you want to improve the access speed, you can do it in O1. Good? Good. There are always options kind of to improve, but of course we need to understand the use case and design to simplify kind of people's lives overall. Because maybe they do not need this recursive kind of structure. They just need something like this, because they always want to extract one element from that particular list. Okay. Another example, just for you to continue like kick offing this thinking about the improvements process. Imagine that there is an API and it's returning the following response. The question, no answers are needed right now. What if there were actually no prices during that day? So item ID is there, day is over there. The only thing missing in the list is prices. What should be returned by the API? Is it A, is it B, or is it C? Think about it. We'll continue with our stuff. So, moving next, we figure out how to, we already seen our API, we see it there. Usually what comes next is a configuration, right? Because to start our application, we need to configure something, press enter, and hopefully it will go up. Let's look at the following configuration. Again, do you start feeling something inside? Like pain over there? Or again, everything is okay? Do you want to shout on something, like telling, what is happening over here? Okay, would this look better? I think for the people behind it's a little bit kind of too small. But would this kind of look better? We have comments over here which actually kind of describe what these properties are and what are they doing. There are defaults already specified, which usually should not be changed when your application kind of is starting. This is already something good that you can use out of the box. And they're segmented, and they have some kind of segregation, because previously we had, for example, port number over there, port over there. We disable or enable all the jobs, and then we had like English sentences with some numbers or booleans in the end, which kind of hard to understand what they actually kind of do. You need to be very involved in the context of these applications. And by the way, while we're on the configuration, don't forget about the good thing, which is a 12-factor app methodology. So if you are kind of first time hearing about it, take a note, Google it, and read tomorrow, or even maybe kind of today. I will not check it, but please do. Another good example of the configuration, if you are searching for like inspiration to take from, is actually the Redis configuration file. And I highly recommend to go kind of through it because it's nicely done, very nicely done. So okay, We're lucky enough, we already seen our application, we understood how happy our integration will be, because we've seen what are the responses and how kind of to work, how beautiful custom methods there are, how to start the application, and now we are kind of starting our application, we're pressing the enter button. What should be next? What should we usually kind of see when we're starting the application? Yeah, right, if it's good enough. So we are usually entering the logs. Yeah, usually if we're lucky enough, there should be some feedback with the help of logs, hopefully. And speaking about the crash, so hello to lovers of the Java. Yes, something familiar with the stack traces. So what happened over here, you know? Like, what is the error? What is actually kind of happened? There is some exception, huge stack trace. How, like, where to go, where to look at? You know, how much time you will kind of spend to understand that actually this stack trace coming up because there is an issue in a database connection, you know? If you are not a Java expert, or you haven't seen kind of these stack traces over here, you will not find it at all. You maybe even will not be able kind of to find it because this exception is covered by another one, which is hiding the actual problem. And it might take kind of days if you, for example, just deliver this code to your clients and they don't have access to the source code or kind of debugging, and they need already kind of to deploy your application during kind of the weekend. So it's not transparent, like to throw such things in the logs. Why not to show exactly where kind of the issue is? Would this be better? Like you're showing that there is an error, there is no stack trace, there is a clear message that, hey, there is a connection to the database failed, highly likely there is an issue in the property. Perfect. You pointed the user straight away where the problem might be. And speaking about Rust, actually we already spoken today about it. Have you seen the Rust error messages? How they actually kind of point you into the right direction where might be the error, and also kind of recommend how to fix this stuff? This is developer experience. Why such things are rarely improved? Why do majority of professional engineers who are kind of sitting over here decide that, nah, we will continue as this with these stack traces and stuff and this not explainable configuration file? Like, why? I don't know. Is it hard? People are lazy? Maybe both. You know, again, let's continue with some kind of quotes. If effort is invested to make these activities as easy as possible, the returns on that effort will increase the longer the project runs and the larger the team is. So basically, what they're stating is that improvements made to the developer experience will scale with the project out of the box. So if you already kind of improve something in a tiny area, team will grow, project will grow, but experience will also exponentially kind of become better. Developer experience can have a significant impact on the efficiency of the day-to-day execution of the team. A positive experience can pay dividends throughout the lifetime of the project, especially as new developers join the team. Remember the onboarding? We spoke about that, like one of the first steps that you can improve. Here it is. And most importantly, the customer will continue to accrue these benefits long after the code with engagement. So developer experience has cumulative effect. You made improvements and you will see how they will kind of pay back. Maybe not straight away, but in the long run, kind of definitely. Even if you are already kind of went away from that project, you will still continue to work there. One of the quotes from the GitHub founder, Tom Preston Werner: "The only thing that matters to me when it comes to developer experience is this: can I turn what's in my mind in the finished product quickly and easily, or not. So developer experience is about culture. It's about, engineering culture. It's about company culture, how your developers kind of feel working with the stuff around. It's about quality. Because with higher quality in the tooling, in the things that you work with, teams will be more productive, clients will become kind of happier, and eventually to what it will lead is to better relationships, right? Because having good things in shape will reduce kind of conflicts, some not needed meetings with people, and actually people will start maybe recommend you more kind of to somebody else, and you will have more kind of collaboration space with companies and everybody kind of around. Maybe between the people within a team even. Between the teams, between kind of business people who are just recommending your product. It's always about kind of people in the end, right? So, touching about people, how usually people kind of start to care about the developer experience? How it happens? Already tried kind of to touch you today, but seems like you're kind of tired enough, not so kind of emotional. But very commonly, developers start to think about the improvements just because of the necessity. You might be familiar with such kind of engineers which they just start to improve the things because they just can't suffer anymore. They just want to live in something better, and that's why they already kind of start to do these kind of improvements. On the other hand, in bigger organizations, usually in product companies, which are kind of far away, sitting over there, they might decide to create entire developer experience teams. Yeah. So, though I personally kind of not yet kind of like the idea of the DX teams, because I think we all are kind of responsible to figure out what is good. So it's not very good sometimes to, offload this thing just to decide to some team. We all need to think about that. And also think about companies like Stripe again, DigitalOcean, who have actually risen to the top by prioritizing the developer experience. Their kind of business targets are completely different. Stripe is just a company who processes your payments. It's just a payment gateway. But they understood that actually who will integrate this stuff? Developers, right? So they need to have a great developer experience. DigitalOcean, in the beginning, it was and still are just a hosting platform for a business actually to run the applications. But who will run? Who will deploy stuff? Developers. So it should be good actually for the engineers who work with the stuff, but not just to have a tool for business to run it. So it is important. Like Netlify, Stripe, CrowdStrike, even like new companies like Zenile, they have even roles kind of dedicated already specifically to the developer experience because they understand the importance of it. But okay, how to identify the developer experience kind of engineer in your organization or team, because maybe they're kind of sitting somewhere and you just don't kind of see them, and you want to have these improvements already starting. One of the possible ways is that they speak about the problem. They already kind of did a table flip, run somewhere outside, shouted at somebody, etc. So they are pointing that there are the problems. And they maybe are kind of eager already to start improving them. If your company has like an open source culture, there usually are people who submit a lot of kind of tiny PRs in the different areas, like in documentation, somewhere in code, somewhere moves a parameter, etc. Tiny stuff. But these are the people already who want to do the stuff better. There are also like polite people, yeah, again, depending on the company, they can just go around and see that you struggle, but they will not do anything. They will just ask like, how I can help you, saying that you are like doing something weird in the terminal. They might be also kind of good in the soft skills and the communication like with the people and around. And highly likely, this is the last step, which is I find kind of common, that they already simplified or automated something. Yeah, for themselves, for their peers, maybe for their kind of friends sitting in their team, but not shared this information yet with the public, kind of. So these are the people, this is how you could kind of identify those. But be ready that if they are kind of experienced enough and you're approaching them like, hey, would you help us to improve our application and the developer experience stuff, they might actually not accept your promotional offer, you know, because they already have seen how deep in stuff and you are. Okay? So what we, I think, understand already by this point. Since other developers are consumers of your platform or like interface, then developer experience and user experience are one and the same thing. We're still like the users of our developer tools, APIs, whatever. And a lot of developers need to do some kind of integration work. Yeah, we always kind of do it. And if developers complain about the tool, it's usually not good for the company who kind of sold that product to them. You know, words kind of spread fast, even in a like closed circles, like for example B2B products about which we don't hear a lot, still they kind of speak with each other. As we figure out, topic is very broad, and improvements, of course, because of that, should be done like step by step, poco a poco. No need to go in a full kind of software development life cycle and try to improve everything at once. It will not work. Start slowly. There are many things to implement, like APIs, frameworks, documentation, SDKs, open source solutions if you have them, general tools. But the thing is that you will not be able to succeed in this alone. So if you will kind of decide that, yeah, I will go tomorrow and I'll start to do the improvements, that's good, that's perfect, but experience, this is a job for everyone. You can't be, as I mentioned, that developer who will try to make lives of others better. But if everyone will not contribute somehow back in some kind of a fashion, you're stuck overall. So like there should be feedback, or maybe they will contribute with a code, or they will just come to you and say thank you, or they will just tell you some negative stuff about the tool you have. This is already something started to happen, which is good. Everyone should be somehow kind of involved. If there is complete silence, then maybe it's a good decision to go somewhere else, actually. So, to wrap up. To have a good developer experience, of course, you need to understand the developer needs, right? In your team or anyone kind of who uses your product. So, go and ask them what problems they're facing. How often you actually kind of do such things? How often you ask, you know, how we can improve this or that, or what are the problems you're facing? Maybe we can improve something. And understanding of these or asking these actually questions will already kind of give you some hints, not the answers, but hints on where to start those improvements. Remember that as in life, you know, like first impressions matters, same with developer experience. And with developer experience, sometimes it's even kind of harder because the first impression comes before people even start to integrate with your product or like touching it. This is coming on the documentation level, on your README files. They're going in and start to understand, does this thing kind of solve my problem? If yes, first impression might be already positive. You know, in general, what is the first impression is, for example, when we are comparing some tools to decide what actually we will bring to our project, yeah, to our kind of software stack. And first experience matters a lot. So imagine you already decided that, okay, this particular library looks better kind of for us, and then you try to use it, and it might feel not good as you expected, so it's not a good experience, but if it's kind of fits in line, is what you actually wanted, this is a positive experience, and this is what you actually want to get. So those people who want to improve things are actually the movers, and they are very rare kind, very rare. They're like 5% or maybe even like 1% in a company. They need to be like, you know, protected by UNESCO, yeah, or something. They're very rare, so like take care of them. Because if they will kind of burn out, then highly likely you will have less chances to compete with others on the market and maybe even kind of be better than others. And remember that developer experience is a process. This is not something that you just your task in the to-do list. And most importantly, that this is a process that we already figure out, it pays off. Maybe not now, but definitely it will. And we are the only one who are kind of responsible for those improvements, because again, nobody will tell us kind of to do them. Business will not tell us, there are no tasks in the Jira. We just need to do them to make our lives in the development like a little bit better. So let's make our lives better, because, you know, this is not fine, and we have responsibility to act. Developer experience is truly important. So thank you very much for your attention.
Have you done any questions?
No? If people are not in shock, the first question over there.
Do you distinguish cases when there is simple user experience and developer experience? Both are users, but they are not the same. Because
Yeah, of course.
Because most likely developer would like to see full stack, not simple messages for support person, just check database connection, that example.
Yeah, of course, these are kind of different use cases. Yeah, and different, as you mentioned, there is users, there are developers. Today, I think we talked about developers who are actually the developers who touching code, yes, and about their experience. But of course, speaking about the support, they will have different needs, right? And they will need a special kind of also understanding on their workflows, what they need, and then you need to build your product around those needs. They are, I think, closer to the what we refer to user experience, because they usually have, like support people, they usually have some portal, we need to have UI, we need to output some information somewhere, so it will be kind of beautiful over there. But as we figure out, it's still kind of user experience, but with a different kind of aspects. Who we're talking to the developers, then it's developer experience. If it's support, maybe we can call it just support experience, yeah, like support user experience. But yeah, so it's very broad. We need to kind of distinguish the stuff because they have different goals and targets. Yeah?
Yeah, thank you for the presentation.
Welcome.
My topic, yeah, developers experience. And my observation is that many people tend to accept the situation basically and just to live with the current developer experience. And this is like because of the fact, and where the question gets raised is when you compare to something, like compare one project to another, compare one workplace to another, company to another. And I actually changed quite a number already of projects, companies, and often when I come into some team and experiencing this experience, and I'm saying, oh guys, this is like so slow. And you know what's the kind of usual answer is, you know, a year ago or 2 ago, it was much more worse. So now it is good. And they kind of often accepted it and just stopped.
Oh, yeah.
And then you are trying to, okay, no, it's not so good, let's tweak
Yeah,
here and
yeah.
there.
Yeah. Thank you for the comments. So basically, based on your example, as we also discussed, developer experience is iterative process. So as you mentioned, it was very slow. Then somebody came, actually told it, God damn it, it's very slow, made it faster. Again, somebody came in, again made it faster. And then it's kind of going forward, going forward, going forward. So yeah. Okay. Then you.
Usual question: how to convince the manager about the developer experience? You don't care about how you work, how it's better to improve.
Good question. Good question. Good question. Actually, it's very hard. And it's almost kind of impossible to convince the manager. The one way that I found, but it's extreme thing, and I would not recommend to do it like so, but you kind of can sometimes already force managers in that decision. So for example, you can already develop something, start to integrate it somewhere, and then manager will not have any option at all.
Usually between overtimes when you don't.
No, you actually, if you kind of want to, you will find the time how to improve the stuff even in your working hours, but usually it's kind of very hard. If you're not working in a software kind of product thing, yeah, it will be kind of very hard. No, I found myself it's hard. So from here, the question, and then there. Yep.
Yeah, I share your concern or the idea of how important developer experience is, and I was exploring this area myself, looking for options how to improve DX in companies where I worked, and one of the solutions that I have found that solves a lot of DX related problems, not all of them, but a lot of them, is a code organization model that is called monorepos or monorepositories, that is not like a silver bullet. It's not suitable for all the systems, but for a lot of systems that usually big enough systems that consist of many microservices on the server side and maybe different front ends on the client side. It addresses a lot of things like promotes consistency when it comes to testing, building, linting, deploying all the pipelines, access tokens, and the developer transitions between the teams and onboardings are becoming a breeze as well, because you have everything is consistent. You can move to another team and you don't need to learn how they deal with GitHub Actions, for example. So I'm curious, you as a solutions architect, have you used this code organization model? What's your opinion on it? Do you have any, like, do you know of pitfalls and reasons? Because I have seen quite a lot of pushback if people are not familiar with this before you speak to them. There's quite a lot of pushback for different reasons. People don't want to share their code, don't want anyone else in the company to see their code. They want this full isolation, or it's just a legacy mental model. That's how people are used to work with code, having their service in microservice and implementing their own logger if there are 5 different loggers already implemented that do similar things. So what's your experience with the monorepo approach?
No, I think it depends. As always, as a senior, I need to tell this. It depends, like from the situation to the situation. But overall, there are actually different use cases. So there are options when you actually want to keep the code in different repositories because it makes sense from the organizational point of view and maybe some segregation, some security, etc. But there might be use cases where you are actually would like to have multiple projects kind of in one place, because it also kind of makes sense in that point. So I think it depends on the situation. on the organizational kind of what you're kind of trying to achieve, but I would not tell that applying the monorepo as a solution kind of everywhere would work, actually, because this kind of very, very depends from the organization, teams, so it's very kind of complex kind of question. So yes, in your case it worked, maybe somewhere it will work, but I would not try to use like monorepo approach everywhere because it's worked somewhere once kind of nicely. No, there was over there.
I wouldn't actually answer the question about how to convince your manager. First of all, I would recommend you to convince your team members. Because first of all, it will be test of your idea, is it good or not. If you will convince your team members, then probably manager will not have any options to resist it, and also kind of manager requirements.
Yep.
Talking about sensory, so it was like
I will come closer a little bit.
I can speak louder. Yeah, so your talk was more educational, inspirational, but to sum up, 3 things, low effort, high impact, which everyone could start implementing tomorrow. What you could recommend?
So overall, if we are speaking about the developer experience, where we can start, I think it still will be onboarding, because this is the first entry step where you can already test and understand what is missing. Like if you are working with your kind of tooling, you already understand from the newcomers. It's usually also faster to get the feedback. For example, they started to install something, it's not working, then something is missing, something might be improved. So this is always kind of a good place where you can already improve the experience of the developers coming in, working with your product, and always have this already feedback loop. So it will kind of always pays off.
So in this case, onboarding, you mean like implementation, setup, and communication?
Yeah, no, basically everything over there, what can be. No, for imagine, one of the examples. One of the possible ways to do the onboarding, you can have a very long README with 25 steps. Yes, that you need to get this, access over there, documentation there, install this and that, and then you will be done. But what if all of this README documentation actually can be shrinked into one CLI tool where developer just comes at work, press enter, few minutes, and everything is installed what is needed for the development. It just opens the repository and starts to work. So very possible, it has a cool effect, and the developer might already do some work and brings the value back. And then, of course, can also come on top, like maybe overall kind of process of the onboarding, even like HR stuff might be also touched over there. But if we are speaking only about the developer experience stuff, so this is maybe how it can be improved. So how you can kind of automate, how you can to speed up all of this stuff. If we are speaking about the libraries or something like that, the same thing. You can think about, collect the feedback about, again, documentation, because usually people start working with the libraries looking at the README, right? They go to the README, and what they usually do, they usually copy, paste, press enter, and see if it works or not. So maybe there are options, for example, to improve these examples, so that they actually will be kind of copy-pastable and runnable. And this will be also a good example. Because usually, these things which we write in the documentation for developers, they always end up in the code base. And they need to be of a good quality. So this is also another point. Yep?
So my question is following. Is there a way to like proactively learn how to improve developer experience? Because like as you told just from answering the last question, if new people come and they see that something's wrong, they give feedback and you kind of iterate on the feedback. Okay, that's kind of reactive because they give you feedback. Is there a way for me to somehow kind of know before people come that this developer experience is good and this bad, and how to develop a good developer experience. Because again, for the APIs and configurations, show bad APIs and good APIs. So that's API design.
Yeah.
Bad configurations, good configurations. That's configuration management. What's like how to learn good developer experience if I'm just starting, if I'm new?
Yeah. Actually, a very good question. I think I will not be able to point you to any kind of courses or materials because I think there are none of them, and nobody will be able I think to teach that. Maybe. I have seen some companies who actually kind of promote that they can actually teach, but from what I see, it's mostly you learn by examples and by experience. So you go to the projects, you try to look around. For example, with these configuration files, you go into the various projects and see how they are structured. You compare and you decide that, this looks actually good, understandable, nicely done. So you just try to learn from the good products which are already there. So this might be already a good starting point to take the inspiration.
So basically you just need to stick with the community and stick with the good practices and it will kind of develop.
No, stick with the community, look at the products, for example, like Stripe configuration in Redis or in Postgres, with already products which are kind of established and are kind of loved by the developers and community. Try to understand why,
Okay.
that this might be a good point. Like, over there was faster.
I have 1.5 question.
Yo.
If I like to automate stuff, but I'm not polite, am I a developer experience enthusiast?
No, why not? You can be just a developer experience engineer, but not polite. You will still, automate and improve things. You will kind of tell how everything bad is around, but you will still do your work. This is just your style. Why not?
Don't like rude comments.
Great. I was just thinking whether I can add it to CV or not. Thanks.
Yeah, I think you can.
And the real question is, do you have any success stories on convincing anyone from outside from engineering about the importance of developer experience?
Actually, kind of a little bit, yes. In one of the projects which we had over here, we had an issue with packaging our kind of software. It was a very broad. It took a lot of steps previously to package the software and send it somewhere because of how it is built. But then eventually we already convinced our managers that something should be changed to reduce the error rates, etc. And eventually we built a tool already. We've shown that tool, that it's working, that actually it's used by somebody. And they were convinced that yes, it's time actually to move this tool out of our room into the actual DevOps room with a lot more people who understand how to do the automation. So I think, it took long enough to convince. It was not like in one day. It was a lot of conversations and demoing, but eventually, yes, and I think this tool is still over there doing its job. So, yeah.
Okay, so are you able to leverage this experience now for further negotiations?
No, I think, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
So, how many questions do we have?
There was one question, and here was one question.
So
Yeah.
only 3?
I think we can already maybe discuss.
So maybe we official part finish here, but you
Yeah.
come with your questions straight to Sergey and we do it in a break.
Yeah,
Just because it's 9.
it's time. It's time. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dark chocolate.
No. Paldies. Paldies.
Coffee and
Oh.
socks.
Oh, liels paldies.